to Sovereign Conversations with the Soul Attorney, the podcast where law, leadership, and liberation collide. I'm your host, Vanessa Cicero, lawyer, entrepreneur, energy worker, and your guide to building a business and life that's truly sovereign. Here, we challenge the status quo, outdated business rules, and explore what it really means to be sovereign in your life and work. Whether we're breaking down legal essentials, tapping into spiritual downloads and the power of intention, or we're having deep, unfiltered conversations with visionary entrepreneurs, healers, and thought leaders, every episode is designed to help you step into your power, protect what matters, and create your life on your own terms. So if you're ready to create a life and business rooted in belief, power, and purpose, take a deep breath, step into your sovereignty, because court is now in session.
Oh, 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 oh.
Welcome to Sovereign Conversations with the Soul Attorney. I'm Vanessa Cicero, lawyer, business strategist, and energy worker. And I'm your guide to building the most sovereign life that you've ever dreamed of. Well, in today's episode, we're going to dive into what it actually means to be sovereign and why it matters, because I know that a lot of people are not super familiar with the word sovereignty. And so I want to break down what is it, why it matters, what it's not, and what are some signs that you're ready and itching to be a little bit more sovereign. Let's get real. Most of us are trapped without even realizing it, right? We build businesses. We are in these 9-to-5s. We make choices in our life that end up trapping us, and our businesses end up being more of a trap than the 9-to-5 that we tried to escape in the first place. A lot of the time when this is happening, it's because we're building our lives. We're making choices based on like fear, obligations, expectations of other people, all of those outdated shoulds that really don't actually serve you. But sovereignty is the missing piece. It changes everything. Because when you reclaim your power, your life and your business, they start to work for you instead of you working for your business. So that's what we're diving into today. And it's going to be a really interesting and awesome exploration into this topic as we kick off the podcast and this whole new journey towards sovereignty that I'm so excited to go on with you. So first of all, what is sovereignty and what does it actually mean? Well, first of all, I like to think of sovereignty as self-leadership, the ability to fully stand in your power and make decisions that are from a place of personal clarity, from a place of full self-determination. So it's not based on the conditioning, the shoulds, the expectations of other people. When you are a sovereign person, nobody's coming to save you. You're not interested in playing the victim role. You're interested in being the author of your own life and actually being the authority over the way your life turns out, whether that is staying in a 9-to-5, whether it's starting a business, whether it's, dealing with your finances, your relationships, whatever that is, you are the authority of your life and your future. So when you're sovereign, it actually means that you're building all of these things on your own terms, whatever that means to you. The idea of being self-determining, regardless of what's going on around you in your life. So when I actually first learned of the idea of sovereignty, it was in university and I was studying political science, and it was in the context of like nation states and in politics and understanding, what sovereignty means for a country. So if you think about that parallel application of the word. It's about, being self-determining, being able to make your own rules, your own laws, your own decisions for the way you want things to go in your life, regardless of whatever expectations are in the world around you. So whether that's like, the corporate world that you're coming from, a certain professional niche that you're coming from, or like the coaching world or the online space, all of these places where people inhabit, in business and in life and in commerce, they come with their own set of expectations and external shoulds that really can put a damper on your ability to step into your power and actually, operate from that place of sovereignty. So I really like to think of sovereignty as a mindset shift first, and then a strategy shift second. Because if you don't own your power, if you don't take responsibility for your life and your actions, then somebody else will. So how are you going to own what's happening in your life? Or are you going to take a back seat? Some examples of this that I see in business and in life. So a great example is like outsourcing decisions in your life and in your business to other people, to trends, to professionals, to business coaches or industry norms because you think you should, or because you don't have developed the inner confidence to be able to have the conversation from a place of empowerment. So instead, you're, giving that power away. I see it so much in my practice where people initially come to me and they're hesitant to, like, what does it mean to work with a lawyer? When I put the decision in clients' hands about, how do you want to structure things? What do you want this contract to say? How do you want your business to look? A lot of people are at a loss for words because they've never actually been, given the opportunity to be empowered and to make those decisions from an empowered place. So that's something that I see all the time as an example of not being fully in your sovereign self. Another, and like for this one, I can say, like I'm guilty, waiting for permission to do X. So whether that be to charge higher prices, to change your offer structure, to enforce boundaries, to pivot in a big way. These are all examples of ways that show that you're not fully embodying your sovereign power and you're not fully in your sovereignty yet. So now that we've talked about like what is sovereignty, I like to also look at it from the flip side and see like what sovereignty is not, because that helps to kind of draw a line in the sand between any confusion. So sovereignty is not about doing everything alone. It's not about being a martyr and like quote unquote killing yourself metaphorically for your life, for your business. True sovereignty really actually includes support, community, and wise counsel, like knowing that you don't know everything and looking for the support from all the wisdom in the universe that's around us to, help you fulfill your goals. It's not about rebellion for the sake of it, just because you hate the rules. You're not sovereign just because you refuse to follow the rules. You're actually sovereign when you choose rules that align with you. So it's about being intentional. It's about being specific. And it's not just, saying fuck it to the things that don't matter or don't make sense to you, but really choosing what actually aligns. And similarly, it's not about ignoring your responsibilities or abdicating your responsibility to someone else or the consequences of your actions, not about being a victim. Sovereign leaders and people who are sovereign, they don't take the victim route. They don't take a backseat. They don't avoid making hard decisions. They actually own them. So if they fuck up, they own that. If they have done something that has not turned out, they own the failure and they just keep going. It's not about, falling into a pit of despair. It's not about chaos. Sovereignty is all about implementing aligned structure, discernment based on your intuition, and that self-trust, that intuition, knowing that you've got yourself, right? That when you hold your power within you and you know that you call the shots on your life, that is an explosion of energy. So a little bit about why I care so much about sovereignty and my first realizations. Like I mentioned, the first time I learned the word was back in university studying political science in the context of politics and countries and nation states. But on a personal level, I really started to go through my own journey towards sovereignty, because I thought life was about following the right, quote unquote, steps, the straight and narrow path, following the system. I'm going to share a lot about my story in upcoming episodes. But when I was initially starting my legal career, I did it the right way. I thought I wanted to be Miranda from Sex and the City. I wanted to be a downtown lawyer, bustling around, doing deals, being, walking around high heels, being that the only woman at a boardroom table kind of vibe. And so what I did in the beginning was I followed all of those paths that were set before me. I got great grades. I, articled at an exceptional litigation firm in downtown Toronto. I won national advocacy awards, all the things, making a good job, making good money. I thought that I had done everything that I was supposed to be doing to feel successful. And the more I did that, the more I felt like I was losing myself. The more I ignored my gut instincts that were like, Vanessa, come on. It just got so much harder to show up. I had crammed myself into the teeny tiniest little box that to the point where I was showing up as a fraction of my whole self. And I realized that, the systems that I was following, the seeking of external validation from the traditional legal establishment, working for other law firms, getting those associate jobs, working my way up in a firm for other people and their dreams, it just wasn't designed for me. I felt like the fact that I had to put so much of my creative self away and hidden in a box and keep it totally separate from my legal work, it was like a denial of who I was. And something that my dad taught me as a kid, really stuck with me at this time. And it was the idea that it's better to be alone than in bad company. And that's not to say that the people and the lawyers and the, the community I was working with were bad people necessarily, morally bad or anything, but it was just wrong for me, bad for me personally, context wise, because that system was so focused on that traditional model. And at a certain point, after about 5 years in private practice, working for other lawyers, working for other law firms, I had, been toying with the idea of going out on my own and starting my own solo practice. And it finally happened one day, thanks to, putting myself in a room full of wisdom. It was a community gathering of, wise women in our community. And I put myself out there with a vulnerable share and got mad feedback from the ladies in the room that energized me and inspired me to take the risk on myself and, go it on my own. I saw if they can do it, I can do it too. So I was just tired of being micromanaged, of having everything that I did in business and my life be looked at under a microscope and judged for not fitting into the box of, so and so LLP. And so I made the decision. Like I said, I went out on my own. And I also stepped into my sovereignty to build Soul Attorney. So I see it in myself, in my story, in, letting other people dictate my life. And it was just a huge turning point for how I saw myself when I finally allowed myself to say, I'm done letting other people dictate what I'm worth, how I spend my time, where I focus my energy. And focused on stepping into my own power. So some other examples of how I've seen other people give their power away. So that was just my story. But like I said earlier, I think giving up control of like legal and financial decisions because it's so overwhelming because you don't understand or you don't get it is something I see so often. People just, you deal with it kind of attitude. When really that can really harm you and harm your business in so many ways. How about people who need better contracts, better boundaries in their business, but they never actually invest in them, or they get ChatGPT to write their contracts and they think they're legally protected? This is giving away your power to your clients, to the people that, you're working with. So you want to make sure that you are staying fully grounded in that sovereignty and in that power and not giving it away and not, putting yourself into the role of being a victim. Because if any of those things I'm saying, any of those examples feel familiar, like you're not alone. There are so many people out there who are also undercharging, over delivering, burning out, dealing with scope creep, letting trends, dictate how they feel about their business. When if you're solid in your own self, your own actions, and you're guided by your intuition, then it's all just noise, right? So how can you start claiming your sovereignty today and actually start tapping into some of that energy? Well, first and foremost, I would say stop waiting for permission from anybody. You don't need permission from your spouse. You don't need permission from your parents, from your business coach, from your kids, from your dog. You don't need permission. If you want to do something, talk to your heart, talk to yourself, and let yourself be the authority that guides you, whether you're ready to make a change or a decision. It's not up to anybody else if you want to do something for you. So that's really number one. Don't let anybody else guide your life. I come first. You have to come first in your own life. The next thing I would do is start making aligned decisions, even if they feel uncomfortable. They'll feel uncomfortable in the beginning. Saying no will be hard in the beginning, but the more you do it, the more easier it will get. And it will allow you to trust yourself. Because if you lived for so long making decisions that are not for you, but you're putting someone else's needs above your own or someone's expectations above your own intuition, it's going to feel really icky and really challenging to put those boundaries up, but you have to do it. Like another really important component to claiming your sovereignty is to stop letting your fear be your business strategist. So instead, what could you do if you swap that fear for belief? Just audacious belief. Because we have the voice in our head that's going to talk shit to us all the time. That fear, that voice that's going to belittle us, make us question ourselves. Like, what would happen if instead of letting that take up so much space, you instead flipped the script and said, what if I could do it? What if, make those what ifs super positive instead. Another thing that's really helpful in this whole journey is learning the difference between intuition and conditioning. So listening to your heart, listening to your gut versus listening to the noise and the shoulds of all the bullshit that is in the world around us. You almost have to get really clear on create like a sacred energy container around you when it comes to all the bullshit and the shoulds. I once had a great therapist tell me, don't should all over yourself. Don't should all over yourself, because those are the expectations of other people, whether they be people people that you think, the they or the them, the others that are out there, faceless, people on the internet, trolls, people close to you in your community, whoever they are, that's all the shoulds around you. But when you can really tap into your own voice and your own inner authority, all those shoulds just bounce off you like, psh, 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 psh. We don't need that shit. Okay? Don't should all over yourself. In that same vein, stop playing by somebody else's rules. Those shoulds, those expectations, when you hear them in your head, ask yourself, whose voice is that? Where is that thought and that belief coming from? Because, excuse me, if that belief isn't aligned with what you want for your life, then it might be the conditioning and the rules of the world around you and not actually the intuition and guidance from your own heart and your own universe and your own soul. And next, and finally, now that you've kind of cleared all the BS and created a safe space for your heart, like lean in to designing the most expansive life and business that you can imagine. Because when you have the vision for the future and you are starting with the end in mind, you can work your way backwards. You can strategize a whole plan of attack for how to get from A to B, for how to step into the most empowered version of yourself. But if you don't have a vision, you're always going to be living one day at a time, and you're going to be in the passenger seat of your life. So, my friends, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning on our journey to more sovereignty in your life, in your business. And if you really resonated with today's episode, I would love to hear more from you. So hit follow, send me a comment on social, and binge the next few episodes because we're diving super deep, and I'm going to go into my story and some other super juicy nuggets in the next episode. Also, DM me on Instagram. I would love to hear from you at soul.attorney and tell me, like, what's one thing that you're ready to take your power back on? How are you stepping into your sovereignty just a little bit more after today's episode? Oh, I want to know. I want to know how you are evolving on this journey because I'm going on the same journey with you. So I'd love to be able to support you as well. Well, my friends, that's it for now. Until next time, court is now adjourned.
Oh, 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 oh.
That's a wrap for this episode of Sovereign Conversations with the Soul Attorney. If today's conversation sparked something in you, let's keep that momentum going. Head on over to www.thesoulattorney.com to grab free resources, explore my membership community, The Cornerstone, and step even deeper into your power. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, my friends, keep leading, keep trusting, and keep building your empire on your own terms. See you soon.